I have not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring yes. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Boy, and based on Charles Barkley's comments on the Bill Simmons podcast, it seems like he won't be bringing his ass, or doesn't think he'll be bringing his ass to Minnesota next May or June, Kyle.
Interesting summer for Anthony Edwards on a lot of levels. He continues to say whatever's on his mind, and I think he's ruffled some feathers with the old guard. I think his lack of a filter is why we love him. But, it'll be interesting to look at moving forward because, I think Rasheed Wallace called him Derek McKee the other day. So he's going to keep letting it rip, but so far so good. I mean, every time he says something, he kind of backs it up. But yeah, the Charles Barkley, do you just want to get into that? Charles Barkley quote's kind of interesting.
So, welcome to the dead of the Timberwolves offseason here.
Right.
This is September. It was nice having the Olympic run there. We did if you missed it last week, our top 100 Timberwolves list updated. And then it turned into a 20-minute debate about how and when Anthony Edwards could eventually be number one on that list and what Kyle's checklist looks like versus mine. So check that out. We have a couple things lined up too here for the next few weeks, but let's do I've been harboring an Anthony Edwards take for 3 months. And Charles Barkley on the Bill Simmons podcast, I think, gives me a good avenue to run this by you. And you can tell me if I'm just being a Wolves homer or if I actually have a point here. But yeah, so Charles Barkley goes on Bill Simmons' podcast and says, and they were talking about different teams' outlooks for this season. And he says, Minnesota, I think, will regress. They got lucky last year. Everything worked out for them. The Nuggets let Jokic down last year because he had to play the whole game against those 2 7-footers, and he just got worn down. I don't think the Nuggets are going to let that happen again. And so the main point here being that Barkley thinks the Wolves got lucky last year and that the Wolves are going to regress. Before I give you the Anthony Edwards take I've been harboring for a few months, if one of the reasons here is that, Jokic had to deal with 2 7-footers, and of course they're not going to let that happen again. Did the Wolves trade one of their 7-footers? Did I miss something about the Wolves roster construction that's going to be easier for the Nuggets to overcome in 2024-25?
The so-and-so got lucky is one of my favorite takes in any realm of life because you never talk about that when a team or a player or a person gets unlucky. So I didn't, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, maybe one of the listeners can. I didn't hear any of those while the Wolves were really unlucky 2 years ago when Karl missed 52 games. It was just that the Wolves failed to meet expectations and they suck. I also think being lucky is cool. That's fine. I think there was some injury kind of luck or, kind of came back. After all the injuries they had in that first year of the Gobert experiment, Karl did miss some time last season, but they did have pretty good injury luck. I also think the same could be said for a team like OKC or some other teams in the league. But just in general, late August, early September, I know we're about to kick things off tonight with the NFL, but it's probably the time when the dumbest takes get released because we're just trying to grasp onto something. I don't know, man. I guess the Timberwolves were just lucky enough to play great defense for 48 minutes for damn near 82 games last year. I think their roster got better. I think the West for sure also got better, and that's maybe something that we'll start to talk about more and more as we get closer to the start of the new season. But it's a really good team that on a lot of nights, I guess using Charles's language, made other teams look unlucky by the fact that they simply had to play against the best defense in the league.
Let's unpack the luck factor thing for a second, because when I think of the NBA, I actually think of all the different sports. I think the NBA is the hardest sport to get lucky in because it's 82 games. Yeah, usually, the rosters are pretty small, and one really, really good player can have a huge impact. I think luck factors in with injuries. When the Toronto Raptors won the championship back in, was it 2019, whatever year that was? And they're playing a Dynasty Warriors team in the finals. Now, Toronto wasn't really lucky to get to the finals. Toronto was really good, and they had Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry, and they were well coached, right? Wasn't Nick Nurse their coach? So like getting to the finals was not luck for Toronto, but once they're in the finals and Kevin Durant, one of the greatest players of all time, blows his leg out, okay, like that's a stroke of luck for the Toronto Raptors. But other than if you go back and look at the Timberwolves season last year, the regular season wasn't luck. They just leaned on teams defensively for 82 games. When you are the number 1 rated defensive team in the NBA, that's the opposite of luck. That is a skill-based attribute that you are pounding that rock for 6 months defensively on a Tuesday night in February when the league is checked out and you're still checked in playing defense. And then the first round, okay, if they would have beat the Suns in the first round because Devin Booker got hurt in game 2 and was unavailable, like, okay, maybe there's some luck involved. Or if Jokic twists his ankle in game 3, but they won those first 2 rounds because they were better than the Suns and better than Denver. And here's a segue into my take that I've been harboring for 3 months, Kyle. Charles Barkley is 180 degrees wrong about last year's Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves got wildly unlucky going into the Western Conference Finals, and I feel like people aren't talking about this enough. I was in the arena for Game 6, sitting next to the sports dad, Judd Zolgad, with the Wolves season on the line against the Nuggets. The Wolves come out gangbusters with their backs against the wall, and they take like a 25. I think they won the game by like 40 points or whatever it was, right? Game 6, and then they go in Game 7. They beat Denver in Denver. With 9 minutes and 12 seconds to go in the third quarter of Game 6, Anthony Edwards jumps up for a dunk, gets hammered, lands directly on his tailbone and hip area, and he stays motionless on the ground for 5 minutes, like a hush over the entire Target Center crowd. Oh my God, did he break his back? What happened? I mean, he's tough enough, so he got up, he still played the rest of the game. And the Wolves were up by 24 points, so you really couldn't tell if the game was over basically when he took that fall. Before the fall, Anthony Edwards in the playoffs, 53% field goals, 43% from 3, 30 points per game against Denver and Phoenix. After the fall, starting with Game 7 and then the Mavericks series, field goal percentage drops from 53 to 39%, 3-point percentage from 43 to 35%, and scoring average from 30 points per game down to 23 points per game. He went from probably the most efficient, dominant offensive player in the playoffs to being just a shell of himself, starting with Game 7 into the Mavericks series. So I'm here to tell Charles Barkley, Anthony Edwards was way more hurt than people have talked about Game 7 into Western Conference Finals. And not only were the Wolves, I mean, you could debate their luck on either side, but losing your superstar player from like his 100th percentile down to like his 50th or 60th percentile, that's unlucky. And people should be talking about that more. That felt good, by the way. I've been sitting on that for like 3 months.
I'll say, thanks for just letting that one out.
Yeah.
Also, as we talk about luck and unluck, pretty damn unlucky to have your coach get like the Lewis Cine injury and just blow out his knee and not have to, not be able to like sit on the sideline. Also pretty unlucky if you're a Denver fan that you couldn't hold on to a 20-point lead at home in Game 7. The Ant thing is interesting. I have never really thought about that. But when you said the timestamp of Game 6, I do kind of remember that. Ant is about as flawless, right, on the court and off the court as it can get for a young age. But one of his kind of, not even a flaw, just a thing, right, was those injuries. Anytime he had a weird injury early on in his career, he like just stopped playing and like tried to sub out, and then he would sub back in right away. So maybe... all I'm trying to push back on is I wonder if we would have heard something about that, but maybe he's learned to just keep injuries, under wraps. Because you're right, there's a pretty stark decline in his numbers right from that moment
the first
throughout the rest of the playoffs.
The next 3 games, so Game 7, which they won, he was 6 for 24 in that game.
People don't really remember that. People, again, Ant, face of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he wasn't great in Game 7. He hit that 3 that kind of ended it, right? And he just started talking smack to that guy sitting courtside. But it was kind of a team effort, right, that they came back. It wasn't one person, especially Ant, bringing them back from down 20.
Yeah. So he and Kobe, by the way, went 6 for 24, I think, exactly in that ugly Game 7. back, whatever it was, 15 years ago. But so starting with that game 7, he shoots 6 of 24. If you take the first 3 games after the injury, and for my theory, he'd be in the most pain and discomfort like in the week after that fall. Again, he falls from like, he's jumping up to the rim and he falls down. He's 6'6", 200, whatever, 25 pounds, just a freight train, hits the ground. He shot 29% combined in the 3 games following. And if you go into the first 2 games I think they were leading the first 3 games of that Dallas series in the fourth quarter. But the first 2 games specifically, they lost game 1 by 1 point. They lose game 2 by 3 points with, for my theory, a far less than 100% version of Anthony Edwards. If he's 100%, do they lose game 1 by 1 and game 2 by 3? 7 points off his scoring average after the injury. I'm just saying, like, you want to talk about luck factor, dude. Are we talking about Denver versus Celtics? Now, do I think if he's healthy, if my theory's right, Wolves beat the Mavericks in like 6 or 7 games, probably still get beat by the Celtics in the finals, but we're at least talking about a Timberwolves team that ran through the entire West. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a homer. Maybe I'm just drumming stuff up on September 5th, a month before training camp. But I just think we brushed over this like near-death fall by Anthony Edwards as if, he just, he stubbed his toe. And now it's like, no, the numbers show you he was not the same player. Was it because of, Dallas plays some good defense, but I refuse to believe that like Derek Lively completely altered the entire path of Anthony Edwards' playoffs. And Derek Lively has a lot of things to say on podcasts right now, too, the last couple weeks, speaking of off-season fodder. So
I said this to Dane yesterday. The hypocrisy of what I'm about to say is just so rich because I am on 2 podcasts about one team, but we have way too many podcasts. We're just way too many dudes. Once Theo Pinson gets his own pod, it's like, we might need to regroup. But no,
the Random Wolf Pod is going to be great. Hosted by Tony Campbell and Tyrone Corbin and Shane Heal. Yeah.
No, I don't think you're. I'm glad you got that off your chest because it looks like you've been harboring that.
It's been sitting in here
all summer. I still. I think it was, and this is like a bigger picture thing, right? About how the Wolves are probably going to be talked about next year versus last year. I think everyone loves, not like an underdog story, but everyone kind of embraced the Wolves last year because they came out of nowhere and they proved a lot of people wrong. And a lot of those times when you get proven wrong, we pulled receipts. You apologize, say, it's been really impressive. Wolves fans get one more month before this. I think this first preseason game is October 4th, so we're about a month away. You're going to have to get ready for war again because they're going to be bleeped on. They're going to be hated. No one's going to believe in them. You're already seeing that from multiple different people about, can you really believe the Wolves? I think even Zach Lowe was like, I'm not sure I'm a total Wolves believer. So it's going to be war again. It's not going to be all the fun, look how far we've come friends type stuff. But I think that's kind of when you and I and everyone else is at their best. So did they lose to the Mavs because Ant was hurt? Maybe. I still think their bugaboo. And the biggest thing to look at next season compared to this past season is late game execution. I think if Ant was 120%, getting Luka switched onto Rudy in that last thing, as good as Rudy is, that's a organizational failure. I don't care who has healthy legs or arms or whatever. Like, you just can't let Rudy be one-on-one with maybe the best crazy shot maker in the league right now in that situation. So there's going to be things that they could, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure all summer they've been talking about that in group chats and at practice, or summer workouts of like, we probably, to do what they did, Phil, against Denver and to come back in Game 7, 20 points. That's really historic type stuff.
Yeah.
And then to just kind of lay an egg against the team. Again, Dallas is really good. Luka and Kyrie, Derek Lively did kind of pop onto the scene, but that's kind of a what if, right? Like, they probably should have, I don't want to say beat them, but played much better. And if you make the finals, I don't know, the Celtics are awesome. And they would have been a favorite in Celtics-Wolves NBA Finals, but who knows? Who knows what the Wolves could have done? So there's still a lot of meat on the bone to bring that saying back, but it does kind of get you amped up again, just the doubt and the hate of, okay, 24-25 Wolves, let's get it.
So I'm just going through this is from the smokingcuban.com, a Mavericks blog site.
Oh, I didn't know where we were going. I thought we were ordering cigars.
Smoking Cuban. These Derek Lively quotes. What was the exact quote here? He said He was asked by a camper, "Is it true they play whoever makes more money?" He said, "There's zero reason Gobert should have been on the floor in the Western Conference Finals." Lively doubled down on Pinson's take that Gobert shouldn't have been playing in that series by saying zero. So they agreed that it is kind of funny. I mean, listen, Lively is a good player, but these peripheral players that chirp behind the guard of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, like these guys are out there shouldering 90% of the load, and Derek, we need you to like block 2 shots and grab 8 rebounds and like play your role. But they chirp as if they are the main character in a championship movie here. So also, just quick side street.
Actually, no, let me take a quick side street.
Okay,
because
go.
Again, I'm really having a great summer. I've got a plant, new house owner, getting
New
a
hat?
car, new hat. Like everything in my life is great.
Crazy.
I'm blessed. But I like Derek Lively, and I think you and I nominated him to be on Team USA in 4 years.
We did, yes.
I just sometimes think this is a bigger thing. Maybe this is for a different type of podcast, whatever. It's okay to think before you speak, right? And also, too, sometimes when you say stuff, it's okay to think, should I have said that? Because basically what Derek Lively did was bleep on Rudy Gobert for an entire podcast. And we can, Declan, you can go check this, but we can double check. I believe
Maybe Declan can look this up.
Yeah, Declan, look this up quick. I believe Derek Lively led Duke team, choked in the second round of the March Madness tournament in 23. And let me just run the numbers. Derek Lively was held scoreless in that game. So again, I think we can say Derek Lively is a good player, but when you just start taking crazy shots because you won a series, and again, the Mavs did win the series. They deserve to be in the NBA Finals. They just outplayed the Wolves. But man, I think Derek Lively could probably do a couple more things before he starts taking swipes at a guy who is a bona fide guarantee to make the Hall of Fame. You win 4 Defensive Players of the Year. Your win percentage in like your career in the NBA is like damn near 60%. Again, I love people taking shots and talking smack, but sometimes it's nice to look at that thing that's in the bathroom, not the toilet, the thing that shows you your own face, and be like, am I getting a little too ahead of myself here?
I'm trying to find this too. I'm pretty sure on the Gobert front, I'm pretty sure he led throughout the entire playoffs, the entire Timberwolves roster in like on court, off the court impact. So like, here we go. Yeah, I found it. So this is on the court versus off the court. Here we go. This is wild, dude. So of the 8, there is 8 essentially main rotation players in the playoffs for the Wolves. Because Monte Morris only played 67 playoff minutes. And then like Jordan McLaughlin came in.
Top 100 though for us. That's mine.
He is one of the top 100 Wolves players.
Keep going.
So the difference in Rudy Gobert on the court versus off the court was like double the impact of the second most impactful Timberwolf in the playoffs. Which leads me to my side street question. Is there a player in the league? Because I get it, like if you're just like a Mavericks fan or even, I mean, hell, like watching Gobert sometimes in the playoffs for the Jazz when, you know, the Clippers are coming back from down 2-0, or I think the Mavericks did it to the Jazz too, didn't they, a few years ago? Mm-hmm. And you kind of watch him with the eye test, and there are some certain series where maybe he did get run off the court, but it's because of perimeter defense in front of him. But is there a bigger gap between what a player looks like, a little bit clumsy, kind of bobbles passes in the paint, versus his actual statistical, factual impact on a team? Because like all of the data shows you, even if you want to just go like look at his win totals when he's on teams, like he is an instant 50-win contributor. And plus minus, on, off, all these things would tell you, yeah, even though maybe he's not like deep in his bag offensively or even shallow in his bag offensively, and maybe he has a hard time catching certain passes in the paint, like the other things he's doing are way more impactful than the narrative would suggest from, you know, guys like Derek Lively and even NBA pundits around the country.
And again, I really like Derek Lively. Like I thought he was like, you know, the Mavs.
Let's Google his family. Let's go deeper. Let's make it personal.
I just have a feeling this season is going to get off the rails. the Mavs tanked. Remember last year they kind of threw themselves out of the playoff 2 seasons ago, I should say, to keep their lottery pick or to keep their pick, and then they get Derek Lively, and I think Derek Lively is the perfect fit next to Luka and all that stuff. I just say all that because when it comes to Rudy, there are just deficiencies in his game. Dana and I really went deep into this yesterday when it comes to like Team France and Rudy maybe getting benched. There are just deficiencies in Rudy's game that are frustrating, and that even a fan of his like myself can be like, man, how have you never like developed one specific offensive move? Whatever. But it's like Derek Lively shot 50% from the free throw line last year. Like there are other, I'm glad that he had a good run. But there are also deficiencies in his game. And again, if my house was a mess, Phil, I wouldn't come over to your house and be like, man, you got some towels on the floor. You know what I mean? It's like, I should probably take care of myself first. So, I'm really interested next year in a couple different things. Does Ant take another leap, based off the Olympic stuff? And I'm sure you and I will talk about that later this month. What does Jaden McDaniels do? He's just making more money now. That's going to be more expectations. He's coming off
national endorsement now too. Very exciting.
So I mean, he's kind of arrived, but he's probably going to have to get a couple more boards or shoot better from the corner. But does anyone have more of a chip on their shoulder than Rudy Gobert now? Because I would say what Team France did in the Olympics was pretty shocking to get a silver medal, especially when they're the host nation. France was not one of the 3 teams kind of picked to get that far. So he's probably served his country well. I don't know if he'll be in the Olympics 4 years from now, but all that's left on Rudy Gobert's resume is to win and win a title. And I wonder, Phil, if he'll be the most motivated guy once this thing picks up here about a month from now.
Something, and this is maybe another episode, we can flesh this out in depth, but so Gobert did he turn 32 yet? He just turned 32 in June, at the end of June. So 32, big-bodied, 7'1" guy. He's had some knee issues. I do wonder about his longevity. And also to add to this, last year in terms of total minutes played, it was a career high in regular season minutes for him. And then by far a career high in playoff minutes for him. The most playoff games. It's the most overall games he's played in a season. Plus, then like the Olympics. I mean, he's out there. He didn't play like every minute of those games. I worry a little bit about age coming off the most wear and tear season of his career. They probably have to find a way to scale Rudy's minutes back. But like big picture, long term, it would be great. I am pro Rudy contract extension, but it can't be for like a supermax price tag. Because I think if you could get on the same page with Rudy and say, hey, man, like you're still going to make a ton of money, but it can't be like in that 40, 50 plus $1 million range as you're going into age 33, 34, 35. If you could keep him around and sort of transition him into what Tyson Chandler became, early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, you're going to play like 25 to 28 minutes. Some nights you might play more than others. There's going to be some nights where you might play 15 minutes and you're going to make $20 to $30 million. I wonder what his level of acceptance would be talking about a future contract. Let's look at lessening your role. We're going to lessen your bank account, but you're going to transition into this nice, like graceful part of your career here. A fan base that has appreciated him the last couple of years. You get to play with Anthony Edwards and hunt for a championship. Or would he want to open himself up to the highest bidder? And I mean, only he can answer these questions, but these are the things I'm thinking about on September 5th.
And not only does he get to continue playing with Anthony Edwards, but he gets to continue playing possibly with Mike Conley, who just displayed what you're talking about, right? All that Mike Conley has left on his resume is to win a title. He believes that this is the best chance for him to win a title, and he took a 50% pay cut, which, thank you, Minnesota Mike, I'm never taking a pay cut. I don't really, and like that's like the difficulty is I don't think anyone should ever take a pay cut except obviously when it comes to my favorite teams and salary cap. So for Rudy, if there was a little, I would imagine, Phil, right, if you just had him alone in a dark cave on a weekend in Southern Oregon, that you would ask him like, hey, were you a little humbled by the fact that you're probably getting benched in your home country in the Olympics? He would say, yeah. So if he thinks that all that matters now and all that's left on his trophy case is Larry O'Brien, then it'll come down to, and this is not something I want to talk about today, but what can Tim Connelly do if Tim Connelly is still here a year from now? What can he do to try to negotiate with Rudy? Because he's already shown you a pretty good, whatever you think about the Jaden deal, I think it was a little less than what he would have got on the open market. Whatever you think about the Nas deal, it's severely less than he would have got on the open market. And maybe there's a hometown thing there. He wanted to be, around these people that have embraced him more than like almost any athlete I can remember. And then Mike Conley. So Tim Connelly knows how to negotiate a deal and to kind of save a little money. And for Rudy, that would probably be in his best interest. But it always comes down to, what do these guys factor in the most?
What does they're totally different players, but like Al Horford, for instance, what's he making right now?
Probably just a little bit more than you and I, but
a couple bucks more. But he's also like 30. He's 38 now, so he's
I think Al Horford's on like a 2-year, essentially $20 million deal, so about $9.75 million a year.
Yeah,
and he's doing what you're saying, right? He took less. He's done everything else in his career. He just wants to win, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's what happens with Rudy. I mean, I believe, and Dane can correct us on this, but that he is already extension eligible. Like now, they could do something. No rush. You have a lot of time to do it. So that's another chess piece in all of this. Is this was a really great offseason. And I think you and I have talked about it a lot. But just their ability to go out and not only add talent to the roster, a roster that I think for every summer now I've said is the most talented roster they've ever had. I mean, I would double down on that this year. By essentially replacing Kyle's playmaking and defense with Joe Ingles' playmaking and offense. And then you add 2 rookies, one maybe is a cornerstone piece moving forward in Rob Dillingham, and then another guy who's just ready to go right now in Terrence Shannon Jr. And as fun as this offseason was to revel in the Western Conference Finals, next summer is the biggest summer in the history of the franchise because there's so many dominoes that will have fallen or will fall by then. So for now, it's kind of the Run It Back Tour Part 3, except instead of, Kyle Anderson up there playing guitar, it's going to be Rob Dillingham just shredding with that handle. So I'm more excited as we start to talk about this more. I know it's football season, Ravens plus 3.5 tonight, but I'm excited for this thing to tip off in about a month.
Do you have, before we get to a random Wolf of the Week, do you have any like hot Vikings takes that you're looking to unleash here?
I just got goosebumps. That's awesome. Welcome back to Purple Daily. I think the Vikings will sneak into the playoffs. Oh. I mean, I don't know where you're at specifically with wins, but I think if you can
8-9, and then you got to get to 9 for probably a wild card spot. But I'm kind of with you on the competitiveness
because I've been doing a lot of over-unders and getting those submitted. I think 9-8 is a real possibility. Obviously, they need, to Charles Barkley's point, some luck on the injury front. But I don't know. I just haven't really bought in. Obviously, I'm a diehard Vikings fan. I haven't really bought into every team in the NFC North just being awesome. And that's kind of, I think, what the vibe is right now, is that the Vikings will be the 4th best team and that the Bears will... the Bears over-under, I think, is 8.5 wins. It's kind of crazy.
It is, yeah.
The Packers, they get a lot of love. No pun intended, but I'm just not really a believer in them either. I'm also just a hater in general. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really exciting season. The J.J. McCarthy news is obviously just another, kind of like the Timberwolves with the football and Lucy. But I think they'll be a really good team. They're going to be competitive as hell. I think the vibes there are immaculate. And if the Wolves have taught you anything, sometimes vibes just equal another win or two. So if you got good coaching, a lot of young talent, and vibes, that's a really delicious smoothie.
I will say on the Packers front, I feel like people are a little aggressive crowning them. I think they're going to be good, but they were 6-8 on December 23rd last year, and they get Carolina, worst team in the league. They win. They get a broken Vikings team starting like Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall, can't remember, and then a Bears team at home that was playing for draft positioning. So we'll see. That's those are Kyle's football takes of the week here on Flagrant Howls. Should we bring our guy, producer extraordinaire, Ross Brendel, into the mix for a little random Wolf of the Week?
You guys just caught me. I was trying to escape and do my Chris Collinsworth slide in.
Oh, hey. Here, let's try it again. We'll leave you up here. Go ahead and move off camera. I'll hit the music. This is for the YouTube audience. Okay, here we go.
There he is.
Here's a guy.
That also allowed me to clear my throat a little bit too. I came in very light there in the volumes.
Collinsworth, so he's a pro, man. He's always got the throat cleared, ready to unleash a big smile and a hot football take to the national viewing public.
Hey, I have a question. I know that this show has been doing a lot better than the haters have ever wanted, and we're top 10 basketball podcasts sometimes. What's going on with the budget? Because I see my guy there, the host of Random Wolf of the Week. He's wearing the same polo as he wore last week. Can we get my guy like a SKOR North
producer budget?
Hubbard?
Okay.
Like, can we crowdsource this?
First off, it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Second
my
off,
bad.
Kyle, we're focused on going 1-0 in Rhode Island championship season. So there we go.
That's right. Gophers, Rhode Island. By the way, you can watch that game, Gophers versus Rhode Island, exclusively on Peacock this weekend. Very
Can't wait for another 3rd and 9 running play.
Will more people sign up for Peacock because of the Gophers in Rhode Island, or will more people get rid of their Peacock because they have to watch Gophers in Rhode Island?
Yeah, people are going to be absolutely lighting Peacock on fire.
I'm so excited for football season, though, because that happened already last week, Ross, where it's like, okay, this game, where the bleep is it? Like, don't even get me started again. I'm going to stand firm on this. I don't mind being an old school cable guy because I have most of the games, but I have to subscribe to Peacock Plus and Amazon Double Prime. And it's just like, can we just put what happened to the good old days of like, hey, there's the sports channels. Like what are we doing?
Well, actually, no, we have that now because all the networks have banded together for some like sports channel package.
And they're
apparently,
charging
that's coming
more
up.
than what my cable is. So back to the Airbnb point, like Airbnbs used to be sweet because it was a tenth of the price of a hotel, and now it's triple what a Marriott costs. And I want answers.
I will say this. It does stink having to go to certain apps for some games, but I made the switch to the Fubo machine a few months back, and last weekend was my first Saturday playing college football roulette on the Fubo machine with the massive package to watch as many games as possible. I got to be honest, I really like the setup. You just search college football, and it says, Ross, here are your 13 games happening right now.
Here's
and you just
North
click back and
Alabama versus Tuscaloosa A&M.
forth. You know, Phil, you've known me now for
A regional rivalry for the ages.
You've known me now for roughly 20 years. Do you think I'm not watching Northern Alabama and Florida A&M on a Saturday afternoon?
Oh, it's going to be, two
It's
high-octane
totally happening.
offenses. Yes. So we're going to do Random Wolf of the Week here, and I want to remind the audience two things. One, we are giving away Renaissance Festival tickets on the SKOR North app. So if you're interested in a fun gathering that involves tasty turkey legs, Nordic meatballs, and live armored combat jousting for the family, you can go to the SKOR North app and you can go to the listener reward section and register to win 4 tickets to the Renaissance Festival. Also, it's merch season here at SKOR North. SKORNorth.com/shop. All of our Before I Die swag, Purple Daily swag, is on sale right now. So SKORNorth.com/shop.
There you go, Kyle. You want me to wear a different shirt? Go buy me a Before I Die shirt on sale. At
I thought you were going to dress up like the Renaissance
SKORNorth.com/shop.
Festival.
Yeah, he's dressed up.
Nothing says maturity or getting older, and I don't like to. We're all young, but nothing says I've gotten older than the Renaissance Festival. That is like the litmus test because when I went as a kid, Renaissance Festival folks, if you're listening, I'm sorry, it had to have been the worst thing I could have ever done. And I went recently, like real recently, and I loved it. Like, I loved that. Just walk around with a chicken leg and a beer.
Dressed like a Viking.
And a wizard. Yeah, like that's sign me up for the Renaissance Festival.
And if you want to measure your just self-esteem or maybe in a good way, lack of self-awareness, just be one of those guys walking around in everyday life. We had members of the Renaissance Festival in the building here earlier today.
Were they on horseback or what was
full costume, basically everything but the horse. It was incredible.
They should do. I was going to say something. I'll say it. No, I'm not going to say it. I love the Renaissance Festival. It's a good time. No, I'm not going to say it. Let's do a Random Wolf for the week. This is me. Should I say it? Should I not? So Kyle has, 3 straight wins with Jeff Teague, Kevin Martin, and Tony Campbell. My last win was Felton Spencer. Kyle has 19 career wins. I have 9. I'm looking to get to double digits here and then play some catch up. So Ross is going to throw out a series of clues. We get a heat check guess and then up to 3 incorrect guesses. If one of us hits that third strike, the other one wins automatically. No Googling. You can Control F search for names we've done before, but no Googling. So here we go.
Before we get going, I just checked. Is Random Wolf of the Week 6 syllables? Random
Wolf
of the Week.
Random Wolf of the Week. That's 6 syllables.
There we go.
Congratulations,
All right,
Ross. Nice
I'm
job,
learning.
man.
And again, the disclaimer, Random Wolf of the Week, because the algorithm chooses the wolf. They don't always have to be an obscure Minnesota Timberwolf. Here we go. Don't forget your heat check, gentlemen. This Random Wolf of the Week was born in California. How good is your Minnesota Timberwolves California-born wolf knowledge?
Alan Crabb.
I'm going to have
Please
to
be
avoid
right.
Alan Crabb since that's always your guess. No, that is
He
not correct.
He dated one of my friends out here, so that's why I just always think of him.
Did
Weird.
Did they get crabs? In that relationship? No.
If you're going to say that, you might as well just say the Renaissance Festival comment.
Yeah, how could the Renaissance be any worse than making a crabs joke?
From California, huh? Boy, I kind of want to nail this heat check. California.
If you get the
you
heat
have
check,
like
you should get 2 points.
You
Have we
have like
done-
a 1 in 360 chance, right? Something like that.
Have we done Michael Beasley? Is Michael Beasley?
It is not Michael Beasley.
Okay.
We
Those
have yet
heat
to
check
do-
guesses do not count.
We have yet to do the Skittles eating Michael Beasley. This Random Wolf of the Week, gentlemen, was born in the mid-90s.
Okay.
All right.
Michael Beasley from Chevrolet, Maryland.
Interesting. Good fun fact. This Random Wolf of the Week's father played minor league baseball.
Andrew Wiggins?
Is that a guess?
I mean, it has to be.
That's
But he
not correct.
Played Major League
Oh.
Baseball.
That's
Were you
not
thinking
correct.
the same thing?
I was thinking the same thing. I wanted you to let it rip. Good.
You
Okay.
guys both perked up at that too. You both
That's the
went,
type of clue that Ross would try and throw us. Like his dad, like we know that his dad played Major League Baseball, but
Yeah.
he also played minor league
He also
baseball.
played minor league baseball.
Okay.
All right. This Random Wolf of the Week played for Andy Enfield in college. Although, is it Enfeld? Is that how we pronounce his name? I've heard it both ways.
And
Andy-
It's Enfield.
Andy Enfield in
Enfield.
college. Father played minor league baseball. Born in the 90s.
Oh my God.
Phil's gonna get this one.
This Random Wolf of the Week was first team All Pac-12 in 2018.
Okay, Kyle's gonna
This-
get it now. Kyle's got it.
No.
100%. Go ahead, Kyle. You got it right
Is
here.
it Jalen Noel?
It is not Jalen
No.
Noel.
Okay, that was dumb. That was a bad guess. Bad guess.
We're
You're
gonna
on the
save
right
No-
coast. He's a Washington guy though.
Yeah, I'm dumb.
We're gonna save Jalen Noel for December, just so I can sing to you boys. This Random Wolf of the Week was the third Pac-12 player ever to record more than 600 assists and 1,600
Jordan McLaughlin.
points. Good job, Phil. That's correct.
Oh, let's go!
That's correct.
That's good.
A current wolf.
Good
A
work.
current random wolf.
Well, not technically. I believe he's
Well,
now currently
he's
a
a free
Sacramento
agent, right?
King, right?
Yeah, you're
he's
right.
a
He
king.
did sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But like last active with the Wolves.
All right.
Wow, Jordan McLaughlin. Let's go.
You didn't let me get very deep into that one. Good work.
Yeah. What were
That,
some of the other clues?
Yeah, give us the other clues quick.
Current NBA player, 6 foot tall. Did you know he's played in 242 career NBA games? He's appeared in 13 NBA playoff games. I'm shortening these up.
Is there a clue in there that says Phil and Kyle did 14 consecutive episodes gushing about how he is the nucleus of a playoff caliber Timberwolves team? No.
I left that out, but I did tell you. This is my original clue was that prior to joining the Timberwolves, he played for the Nets. What I was going to leave out is that they were the Long Island Nets.
Oh, wow, dude.
But I did fix that for you guys.
That's dirty, man. So he's 28 years old already.
You guys want to
Isn't
guess?
that kind of crazy?
I think he's a newly expected father
28, so
too.
yeah, and then- Well, yeah, that,
Him and his wife were great in Minneapolis. Like, obviously replaced Jordan. A little basketball talk here, quick. Obviously replaced J Mac with Rob Dillingham, but shout out to Jordan McLaughlin. He was better than I ever thought, and I think him and his wife did a lot in the community. So he will
Yeah.
be missed next season for sure.
He played all 4 years at USC, so that maybe explains why he's a touch older. Do you guys care to guess how much money he's earned in his NBA career? And
It's so much less than you think.
I don't think this counts his new contract, which I believe is like $2.4 million this upcoming year.
I mean, it's under 10.
Yeah, I'll say $6.5 million.
Let's see if I can price this right you. So he's played 5 years. Does he get credit for 6 in there? No, because you said it wasn't the actual nets. I'm gonna say 5.9.
So I'm going to give Kyle, basically, he was perfect on this because it was 6.4 something, and I rounded up to 6.5
This is
million
a
on
roundup
my
podcast.
sheet. So good job. Here was this was your hint that I think would have given it to you. This random wolf of the week is no Big Mac. He's more of a Lil Mac.
Wow.
All right. Get this man a new polo.
By the way, if you're wondering what basketball podcasts are like on, again, September 5th, dead of the offseason, questions like, how much money do you think Jordan McLaughlin has made in his NBA career with 2 minutes of pontification and silence?
I will say, I had, as we pivot, a perfect September 5th comment. I had one thing I wanted to ask a couple weeks ago, non-basketball. I needed Ross on. Summer has not ended. I don't know how you guys feel. Summer goes until the 22nd of September, but to many, Labor Day weekend is the signal of the end of summer into fall. I'm just coming off a wedding this past weekend that I was in. So I wanted to ask this in like June, which I think is the hottest month for this activity. But I'm going to ask you, Phil, and I'm going to ask you, Ross. What are your thoughts on combined bachelor and bachelorette parties?
Oh, man. Dangerous.
Embrace debate.
I don't know how you feel, Kyle. Never talked to you about this. On one hand, I feel like I've been to like 5 guys only, like big bachelor parties in my life. I don't know that I've had fun at any of the 5. Like at the end of the day, you're just like, it's way more than I want to drink. We're up at 6:30 to golf and hit like a 7:30 tea time, and then I feel like it's just a lot. I don't know that I need that much. And combining it and making it like everyone at the same time. I don't know, man. Maybe it'd be more responsible if the gals were there too. So maybe.
Yeah. Well, I had 2 hot takes. Now I've already forgotten one, but here's the one hot take on the combined bachelorette party. You're asking for a groomsman to hook up with a bridesmaid. That's absolutely going to happen.
Even more so than the wedding. Yeah.
Yes. It's just that's going to happen. And then to Phil's point, I think this was my second point. I do think for the most part, having been a groomsman in a fair share of weddings too, I think bachelor parties are slightly overrated.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just
Totally with Ross on this.
What are we doing? We should have led with this.
What is the point? Like, what is the point?
Crazy.
Well, that's right. We're gonna. And then
We're
when
gonna
it
get
and then,
hammered.
and then when it happens, and maybe I'm hitting too close to home here, but when it happens like 2 nights before the wedding, like this is the party to end all parties. Why? Like, aren't you celebrating like this amazing new chapter of your life? You feel like your life is ending. I need to drink 25 beers and get like I don't know.
I need everyone that's ever listened to this on YouTube to comment on whether or not bachelor parties and bachelorette parties are overrated.
And here's another thing on the bachelor party, you get 24 hours. The ones where it's you need to fly here and we're going to spend 3-4 days here. And then so I have to give up my vacation time and thousands of dollars just so you can get drunk because you're getting married. Come on.
Yeah,
Child,
dude.
please.
You know,
Wow, I have never. All right.
24-hour
it's
rule.
very selfish. Yeah. I would say the most fun I ever had at a bachelor party was our guy Darren Doogie Wolfson, 2009, so 15 years ago now, and it was a group of like probably 8 or 10 guys went to Chicago because one of Doogie's friends at the time was running the Cubs PR department, and so we got like carte blanche at Wrigley Field. The bars are open till 4:00 in the morning. And so like that was a fun kind of 2-night go all out. But I don't know. I'm with
Weren't
Roscoe.
you hanging out? Weren't you hanging out with like Cubs?
Randy Bush.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Early like 90s, late 80s Twins pinch hitter legend.
Kate's husband?
Not Kate Bush's husband.
Okay.
And World Series champion, right? Randy Bush got a World Series ring.
I just wanted to get on the record.
He was wearing it,
since
dude.
This is a popular podcast. On the record, I am pro bachelor and bachelorette parties. I'm just very anti combining them. I think separation a little bit is good. But I did not think I was going to open a can of worms where you guys are both just complaining about the fellas getting together for a couple days or the ladies and just having some drinks and golfing. My goodness. What happened to the country I love?
To Phil's other point, there needs to be a window between party and wedding.
That Phil is
Yeah,
spot on. This Thursday bachelorette party
No.
and then the wedding's on Saturday. Get
Ridiculous.
the bleep out of here.
Dude.
Yeah,
And
it's too
also,
much.
I think what happens too is, however, like how many guys were part of the bachelor party that you're like the most recent one you
Well,
went to?
listen, this is not about me, although I did
Okay.
include flagrant howls in my best man speech over the weekend. So shout out to the 5 new listeners that I got from Omaha.
So let me talk in a generality to not
Okay.
get you in trouble. Okay, so let's say there's like 10, maybe 12, 10-ish for a bachelor party. Inevitably, there's always at least 2 or 3 of them that are miserable in their own lives and just want to like black out, be super irresponsible. And I don't like I love my wife and I don't feel the need to like, wow, finally got away from the life that I'm telling you, every bachelor party has out of 10, 2 or 3 that are just like, oh, thank God.
There was a member of the bachelor party that I was at in June. I think I talked about that in New Orleans. And he kind of bailed on all the stuff during the day that I had planned. And he just sat in the room, in a dark room, and watched Netflix on his tablet. And I remember going and checking on him. I was like, hey, are you good? He goes, this is like one of the best days of my life. He goes, I got 3 kids. I'm going to watch like Fargo all episodes. So what I will say, and I think everyone listening to this, and maybe this is a good way to close, bachelor parties and bachelorette parties, especially when you navigate into your 30s, they are oftentimes for everyone other than the bachelor and the bachelorette.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think
Yes.
we can all agree on that. Okay.
Totally. Yeah. Man, I just thought of another bachelor party that I went to about
At the Renaissance Festival?
about 14 years ago that involved a very prominent member of the media, and you find out some things about people and their preferences. All right.
All right.
So we're
Flagrant
here
Howls.
on Flagrant Howls, your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.